Whilst we want to focus primarily on contingency planning, I did want to just clarify one point which you've just referred to. In July, you told us that you wanted the UK to continue to participate in the European Aviation Safety Agency as a non-EU member state. The political declaration refers only to close cooperation between the Civil Aviation Authority and EASA. Can you explain the reason for that discrepancy?
Yes, it's because the precise nature and legal form that will take place, for the cooperation and for our relationship with the EASA is something that will be agreed and negotiated when the legal text is put together in the next stage of the negotiations. As I say, it was always going to be the case that the legal text would be negotiated after we left the European Union.
The Chief Executive of the Civil Aviation, or the then Chief Executive of the CAA, told the Transport Committee in very emphatic terms that full membership was the right thing to do, if at all possible. So when you produced the political declaration, did you not listen to the regulator and the industry, or have the negotiations failed to include that ambition of full membership for the UK?
No, the form in which the cooperation that the CAA will have with EASA is one which obviously we've agreed that will be a close cooperation which will ensure high standards of aviation safety. The question is exactly what the legal arrangements would be. That's a matter for the next phase of negotiations. But I think what is important in a number of these areas is that we can either look at this in terms of maintaining the exact structures that exist today, or maintaining the capabilities that exist today. And sometimes it's possible to maintain capabilities, but in a different way from the exact structures that exist today.
So I'm not sure that I'm quite clear. Is it still your ambition for the UK to be a full member of EASA, as recommended by everyone in the aviation industry, including the government, including the UK regulator?
It continues to be our intention to argue for the closest possible relationship with EASA. Now, that would be membership of EASA in the interests of aviation security aviation safety. What I'm saying is that I think that there will be, I'm not saying this is one of them, but there may be a number of areas. The number of areas have been referenced that where membership or a particular relationship is not identified in the political declaration, but there will be areas where the question will be how do we ensure that the capabilities that are required can be maintained in the future.
I think there's a huge difference between us being members and us having close cooperation. If the Chief Executive of the CA was very clear that if we are not able to have membership, which he described as a worst-case scenario, that we might have to develop an EASA-compliant regime. But wouldn't that make us rule takers rather than being a really important and influential voice at the table as we are now?
Well, we want to continue to ensure that we are able to have that influential voice. As I say, the legal form that our relationship takes in the future will be one that has to be negotiated after we left the EU.
I think some of my constituents would like Brexit to be over and done with. Wouldn't they be right to understand that no matter whatever happens on the 11th of December, it won't be, even if your deal is successfully ratified by Parliament, and that we know what the mathematics are, it is the case that Brexit will not be over and done with, because there will be at least another 2 years of ongoing negotiations about EASA and a whole range of other things. Isn't it important that the public know that?
There will be ongoing negotiations, but we will have left the European Union. We will no longer be a member of the European Union, because we will cease to be a member of the European Union on the 29th of March next year.
I think it's important that they understand that will not be even if that happens, that will not be the end of discussions about Brexit, because as you've acknowledged, there are many, many important matters that are not secure.
The negotiations on the legal text of that future relationship cannot take place until we are no longer a member of the European Union. So we will be continuing to negotiate on those matters, but we will not be a member of the European Union.
So we'd be out without the leverage to negotiate what we want?
No, we'll be out, but we will be negotiating on the basis of a political declaration that has set out clearly what we want.
Apart from, it doesn't actually say anything about membership of a very important European safety agency that has huge implications for our aviation and aerospace sectors.
What it does is recognise that we will continue to have a relationship in order to ensure high standards of aviation safety. And that's what I think the public will want to know, that we're going to be able to continue to ensure aviation safety.
Turning to contingency, in July the National Audit Office said that the Department for Transport faces a considerable challenge in preparing for Brexit, and yesterday the Public Accounts Committee said there's a real risk the Department for Transport won't be ready in the event of the UK departing the EU without a negotiated deal. Why is that the Department for Transport not ready?
Well, the Department of Transport has been putting a number of elements of preparation in place. It is one of the departments that has had legislation going through the House, for example, in preparation for these all scenarios.
But they're clear. But we heard that they're not ready. How will you make sure that that department, and indeed all others, are brought back on track?
Oh, that the work that the Secretary of State for Exiting the European Union is doing in bringing together the departments, in looking at the preparedness, this is looked at constantly, both preparedness for deal, preparedness for no deal. As I say, there have been various elements of the preparations that have needed to be put in place, including elements in relation to Parliament.
I think we remain concerned that time is ticking and things are not ready.